City of Northglenn, Channel 8, keeping you informed of events in your community.
Good evening and welcome to our November 26th regular City Council meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order. Joanna, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Dodge?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Escobar?
Here.
Councilmember Sowers?
Here.
Councilmember Leidy?
Here.
Councilmember Downing?
Here.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Whitman?
Here.
Councilmember Duran-Mullica will be absent. Councilmember Wilford?
Here. Thank you. Would you stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there any response to citizen inquiry this evening?
Nothing this evening, Mayor Dodge.
Thank you. And are there any agenda additions or deletions from the council? None. Okay. We will move to our interviews tonight, starting with Mr. Larry Harvey for coming up and applying for the Liquor Licensing Authority. Come on up to the podium. How are you this evening?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Okay, so you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're applying for the board?
My name is Larry Harvey. The reason I'm applying is because Sharon Whitman wrangled me into it, I guess. No, she actually asked if I would apply for it, and I said I certainly would. I'm a retired school teacher. I taught for 30 years, retired 18 years ago, and have since been volunteering different places. I volunteered for several years at Channel 6. And also, and I'm currently volunteering at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science in the anthropology department. I'm also the membership chair of the Northglenn Senior Organization. I guess that's it.
Okay. So does the council have any questions for Mr. Harvey?
I just have a comment.
Right. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
And I was just going to say the same thing. Thank you. I mean, you are an extremely busy person right now, but I think it'll be fun on the liquor licensing board.
Well, it'll be a new experience for me.
Yes.
And just so you know, somebody came up to every single one of us to talk to us at the run. So we get you.
Oh, okay.
We get it. You're needed. Thank you.
And Larry, you've been a great part of the NSO, and I like serving with you. You're a fun guy. I think you're going to be a great asset to the liquor board, so thanks for applying. All right. Yep. You're free. You're free to go. That's it.
Happy days. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Next, we will interview Thomas Lovato for the Youth Commission. Hi, Thomas. Come on up to the podium. How are you?
Good.
Good. Are you nervous?
A little bit.
Don't be. You got this. All right, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, what school you go to, that kind of stuff?
I'm Thomas Lovato. Right now I live in Thornton, but I used to live in Northglenn. I go to school at Stargate Charter, and the reason I want to be part of the Youth Commission is because my uncle works for the city, and then my cousin is in the Youth Commission. He just wanted me to come along, so.
Oh, hey. Who's your uncle?
Benjamin Cathcart.
I don't know Benjamin. Should I know Benjamin Cathcart? Does he work? Where does he work? In parks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you're playing. And what grade are you in?
8th.
8th grade. All right. Are there any questions from the council for Thomas? Joyce?
Thomas, read your application, and I'm just kind of curious, have you had time to think about maybe what you want to do when you're on the youth commission? When you first filled it out, you said you weren't quite sure yet.
I'm still not completely sure because I don't know it too well yet, but it definitely looks interesting, and I don't know what role I can play yet.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Tony?
Thomas, thank you. In 8th grade, your life is in front of you. Volunteering is the best thing you can do. What you learn on the youth commission, you carry throughout life. Thank you.
You're welcome, I guess.
Anyone else? No? Thomas, thank you for applying. And what is your favorite thing about Northglenn? That's what I was going to ask you.
Well, I love, I guess, all the stuff that my uncle does. We sort of go around with him sometimes.
Oh, do you?
And see some of the stuff that he's put up and worked on. So that's
So
fun.
maybe you'll move back to Northglenn from Thornton, huh? Well, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for bringing him tonight. All right. We move to presentations. We have the Economic Development Report with Debbie Tuttle.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Debbie Tuttle, Economic Development Manager. You've got a long agenda today, so I'm just going to highlight a few things for the residents and also for you. Most of these things you know, but definitely we had a wonderful, successful 7th Annual Business Appreciation Breakfast honoring 10 of our companies and the largest crowd we've had. A great keynote speaker. In fact, he's been requested for by two other people now because they liked it so much. So I think that was quite the success. Also, the first annual Adams County Startup North competition, we should be really honored because there was 18 businesses that applied for the pitch competition. We had 2 in the top 5, and the one motherboard won 2nd place. She won $4,820. I was there at the competition, and she rocked it. I'll tell you what, she's quite the presenter. And then the Good Couch won 5th place. So that was really great for the first competition that 2 out of our 18 were in Northglenn. We had 3 ribbon cuttings that we did. Purple Moon, most of you were there. The Good Couch and Agati, the marijuana dispensary. You probably saw the Shop Small as well as the Shop Saturday signs that went up. They went down today. And thank you to the parks who got those down and got to count the lights up. So we're starting to move into that. And also thank you to the parks because they got the fire truck over there and all the lights on it. So please promote that, to all the kids out there that we want to do a guess and a count on that. We're doing it online, so we're really encouraging people to make it easy for them. And we've also put posters in each one of the stores over at the Marketplace and across the street at the Marketplace Annex. So encourage people to do that. Another highlight was our Save a Lot community meeting. It was really a success on October 25th. A special thank you to Councilmember Wilford who live streamed that. That was really exciting because we had people that were on Facebook who were actually asking questions that we, Save a Lot, was able to actually answer them live in real time. We had about 40 people there, had really positive comments, so we're really pleased about that. They're in the building department with, they're about to, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, get their permits to go in and start putting the storage of all of the groceries and all of the products. They hope to open by the end of this year. We'll arrange to have an official ribbon cutting for them, and then early next year, probably January, February, we're going to do a whole kind of a grand opening for the Huron Center of all the businesses, and we'll have an event planned around that, so look for that. New storefronts, this last quarter we had 17 new businesses and 23 new jobs for a net total of 236 jobs. We had no businesses that closed in the 3rd quarter. And we had 4 new open business, home-based businesses. One thing just to note for the record is Phoenix Salons, they rent out spaces for a lot of the salons, nails, hair, facials. I'm not reporting those individual salon spaces in there. We're just taking it the 6,000. We don't want to double count. So you'll just see that 6,000, and in the report you'll see 3 businesses that were in there. We are counting, of course, the jobs that they're bringing, but just not the square footage, just for clarification. You'll see see the NERA resolutions. There was 10 of those for the Q3. Approximately $38,000 in grants were provided to small businesses for business improvement grants and business utility grants. So kudos to the Northglenn Urban Renewal Authority that are really helping our small businesses. They also provided $4,000 in the Business Appreciation Breakfast for sponsorship and another $1,000 for the Count the Lights. So again, they do a lot for our community as well for our businesses. You'll notice that there's 28 businesses in your report celebrating anniversaries from 5 to 30 years. They're just amazing. We have incredible longevity of our businesses. Also, there's statistics in the back of your report on the commercial real estate. The median housing cost for Northglenn is $359,000. Unemployment is at 3.3, which is exactly the same as it was this time last year. And another one that's not in your report that has just come into our building department is Boondocks is doing another major renovation over there. They're going to be spending about $1.4 million to redo their entire kitchen and that whole back area where they have all the parties and all of that. All of that will be new. Everything in the kitchen, everything in that back area will be renovated. So they continue to invest in our community. You know, they did the bowling alley and the laser tag and then the rope course and now this. So we really appreciate them as a community business and a community partner in our city. And that's all I have, unless you have some specific questions.
Questions?
Remember how we were talking about Beltrans and then they were taking a part in the back? What are they going to have in that back section?
Well, they're still working out that back portion of it with the building department because of a hood that they need potentially and the grease trap. So they're evaluating all the costs for that project. But they're moving actually the administration back there. They have no place for their offices. They're also going to be doing they're cooking, some of their cooking back there, depending on if they can get the hood, and they're going to be actually like the fajitas, the pre-made fajitas and all of that will be done there and then brought back to the store to the kitchen. There's just not enough room in the kitchen for them to actually do all the cooking.
So they're not going to actually open up a restaurant?
No, they are not. And they're looking at the potential of actually doing tortillas, homemade tortillas, if we can get everything approved for them. So, yeah, that's a great company.
Jenny? Great, thanks. Debbie, last year the Marketplace did a holiday celebration. Do you have any sense of if they're going to do that again this year?
They are not this year. I contacted them. What they decided to do was to use the money that they normally would do, which is about $10,000, to decorate the Marketplace. So more wreaths, more lighting, trying to be more appealing. The following years coming forward, as we start through all of the renovations and we do all the improvements, they said they would definitely reconsider it again. But they decided for this year they wanted to use that money to just try to get it looking more Christmas-like and more trying to attract people in. But this year they decided not to do it.
Okay, that's great.
Good question.
And while you're here, do you have any updates on the Marketplace that you can share?
The letter of intent has been signed. They haven't gotten the lease signed, so we're hoping by the end of this year the lease will be finalized.
For a theater?
For the theater.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. One other comment, too. Duty calls, which you can imagine that's for dog waste removal. They actually are over in Hillcrest. They've only been open a few months, and they were just ranked one of 250 of the top private companies in the state of Colorado. So kudos to them. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
Concerning Count the Lights, and you mentioned that we're going to be doing it online. Will they also have the availability of doing it otherwise as far as?
They can collect, will collect if they want to their counts, but we're really encouraging everybody, almost everybody has a cell phone that they can actually type in their counts. So we're discouraging that just because it was very staff intensive and also because the companies, the businesses, as well as the residents weren't participating with the boxes that we had in there. If you remember, we put boxes, individual voting boxes, counting boxes in each one of the individual stores. We would go there and there might be 10 or 15 or 20 in there, and the staff, it was very staff intensive to go and do it. Yeah. So that's what we would prefer. I mean, they could come in and just turn an account in or call me and I could type it into the computer system that's tracking everything. But again, we prefer them not to do that.
I'm just concerned about those that don't have
Sure.
the availability of a cell phone, computer, you know, how they would,
Sure, they can always call me, they can come in, I'll get it typed in for them,
how do
so.
they know to contact?
Well, we can do something online, how about that?
How about that?
How about that? We'll
All
do that
right.
on the website,
That
that's a
sounds
good
good to me.
idea.
Okay.
Is there a link on the website already?
Yes, there already is. Countthelights.org.
That's what that was
Yeah.
for. I didn't click it today.
Yeah. Well, you can't do it because you're over 18, I think, right?
Just a little.
6 to 18.
I got a 6 in one of them.
Anything else? Okay,
Thank you
good,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Debbie. All right, we will move to public invited to be heard, limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements shall be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. And I have 2 names on my sign-up sheet. Is it Sobre Diaz and Sonia Diaz? Would you like to come forward?
No, sorry.
You changed your mind?
No, never changed your mind.
Okay, well, you're allowed. All right. Anybody else who would like to come forward this evening? Hannah? I see Hannah Mullen here with Congressman Perlmutter's office. Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. So I'm just here to give you 2 quick updates from our office. This Saturday, we were having a district office open house. And our office is located at 12600 West Colfax Avenue in Lakewood, and it's Suite B400. We do this event annually, and it's basically a way for people to come and constituents in our district to come and see our office and what services we offer. It goes from 10 a.m. to noon, and it's this Saturday, December 1st. And then the other update I have is we just finished our Academy nominations for this year. We had the largest class we've ever interviewed. We had 38 applicants. We nominated 30 of those, and I believe 2 of those from Northglenn. So very exciting. We won't know for sure about appointments until next spring because the Senate offices have until January 31st of 2019 to submit their nominations, and then the academies pick the class. But pretty exciting stuff. So just want to give that update.
Thank you.
Can you explain to the residents what the academy is?
Sure. So Air Force Academy, West Point, the Naval Academy, and the Merchant Marine Academy are the 4 service academies that students can go through our office to receive. You need a nomination from a member of Congress or a senator, president, vice president. I think there's like 25 ways you can get a nomination. Those are the normal ones. So it's for students that we represent that are our constituents. And it's their senior year in the fall that they apply for the academy, and then they receive either a nomination or appointment or both in the fall and then spring.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then also I should say the Coast Guard Academy is another avenue that you can go and apply through, but it's a different process to go through. But it's also an academy. Yes.
Can you share at this time the 2 Northglenn names, or no?
I don't have their names on me. I apologize. Okay. I was driving up here and I'm like, I forgot those names.
That's okay.
But I can send them to you.
Yeah,
sure.
Thanks.
Thank you, Hannah.
Sure. Thanks.
Have a good evening. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at public and invited to be heard, please? No? All right, seeing no one, we will move to the Legislative Policy Committee update.
The only thing we have to provide as an update is that we made the decision to cancel the legislative dinner. We unfortunately weren't able to schedule both of our representatives elect to be able to join us, and part of the reason that we were hosting the dinner was so that we could get some FaceTime with them. So we're going to be discussing it as a committee and trying to figure out how we move forward, and trying to figure out really what's going to be a more effective medium to connect. So stay tuned.
Okay. Anything else? Is that it for legislative?
Thank you.
All right. We will move to the financial report with Jason Loveland. Good evening, Jason.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is our 3rd quarter finance report. Take a look at the screen for this quarterly report. I'll start off with an update on sales and use tax. Year-to-date collections are at $14.9 million. That's up 2.6% when compared to the prior year. More specifically, on the positive side of our trending year over year, sales tax and accommodations tax are both up 4%. On kind of a negative trend year over year, Auto use tax is down 4%. Overall use tax is down 5%, and then food tax is down a little over 1% on the year. And then marijuana tax is flat year over year. So, and then I'll go through each of our funds, starting off with the general fund. That's our main operational fund. You'll see year-to-date revenues are just over $19 million, and expenditures, that total is $17.3 million. You'll see in the taxes line item, the collection rate and spending rate on the far right are at just under 70%. That's in line with what we'd expect at this time of the year. Although we're 75% of the way through the year, our collections and spending aren't symmetrical month over month. On the expenditure side of things, personnel is the largest category with expenditures of $11.9 million, about 69% spent versus the budget that we had adopted. The Conservation Trust Fund, those are the lottery proceeds that we receive annually. You'll see total revenues of $301,000 and expenditures of $93,000. You'll see on the spending rate, these are for one-time projects that are budgeted, so it's not an operational thing. So you'll see that only 4% of the budget has been spent on the expenditure side. $1 million is for the Northwest Open Space Project, so that's why you see kind of a large budget over on the left. Spending so far to date has been for the pedestrian bridge repair of about $60,000. And then some work on the Kiwanis splash pad design work so far. In the Capital Projects Fund, revenues at $4.7 million and expenditures of just under $13 million. The largest spending of that $12.9, the Justice Center, $9.7 million was spent on that so far. The Ralston House, $1.2 million, and then the Residential Street Program, about $700,000. So that makes up about 90% of that total spending in the Capital Projects Fund. And there's more detail on Conservation Trust and the Capital Projects Fund on page 27 and 29 of that more regular monthly report that we provide. And then in the Water Fund, you'll see total revenues of $8.3 million. Total expenditures of 4.5 for a net change of a positive 3.8 million. You'll see the taxes collected. Those again are the 0.5% sales tax for water acquisition and food sales tax that make up the $2.4 million in the taxes category. Overall personnel expenditures again are 69% of the spending rate. And then you'll see capital outlay is at 12% of the budgeted expenditures. Again, one-time projects. They take time to kind of get off the ground and get going. And there's more detail on page 30 of the report on those spendings. And then on the wastewater fund, user charges and fees, $2.7 million with total expenditures of 2.4. Again, sometimes no news is good news, so there's no anomalies with our budget to actual or even year over year in these funds, which is a positive. In the stormwater fund, total revenues of $306,544 and expenditures of $158,117 for a net change through September of $148,000. Again, in line with what was planned for that fund. And then the last fund we'll talk about is the sanitation fund. Total revenues of $1.3 million and expenditures just under 1.2 for a net change of $150,504. In that fund, a large portion of the spending, one is on personnel and then trash trucks or expensive purchases, and that's the large portion of the $1.5 million budget that you'll see there. So with that, through 3 quarters, total general fund revenue is up 7% year over year, which is outstanding. Sales and use tax, as I mentioned before, is up 2.6%. We had projected about 2.5%, so we're in line with those. And then overall spending across all funds are in alignment with the budget and what we would expect to see, on a trending basis year over year. So, can answer any questions that you guys may have.
Questions?
Jason, I just have a question on the water fund. Sorry, it shows the supplies and equipment that we're really we've spent 90% of our budget. When we look at the forecast and everything, are we going to be able to stay within budget on that?
So in that, there's fuel, there's a lot of chemicals that are in there, and utilities. Being at 90%, that is a little bit high for the year, so I would suspect, I haven't dug really deep into that, but I would suspect that that particular category of spending will be over budget.
Can you maybe send an email? Because it looks to me, I mean, did we get like a cost that we weren't expecting?
I'll
That's what I'm
I'll
thinking.
get some more information on
Okay,
that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Jason? No? Jason, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
It was a good report this month. All right, we'll move to the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to ordinances first reading. Joanna, the title, please.
This is for CB 1916, a bill for a special ordinance rezoning from planned unit development to planned unit development, certain real property at 9777 Fred Drive in the city of Northglenn, county of Adams, state of Colorado, and amending the zoning map of the city of Northglenn.
Move for approval. Second.
Heather, would you like to give some background, please?
Sure. This item on first reading is, again, a planned unit development for an existing assisted living facility located at 9777 Fred Drive, which is basically the request is to increase resident capacity from 12 to 16. So the item is scheduled for public hearing on December 10th. And if Brooke is here, if you'd like us to go into more detail, answer any specific questions. But that's a general overview.
All right. Are there any questions from council? Hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CB 1916 on first reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to resolutions. Joanna, would you read the title, please?
This is for CR 139, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement for the provision of municipal court video services.
Move to approve.
Second.
Heather, would you share the background, please?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. This is an IGA between the cities of Brighton, Commerce City, Northglenn, Thornton, Westminster, and the Adams County Sheriff's Office for the provision of municipal court video services. And this is for us to receive video services, utilize video services rather, for defendants in custody at the Adams County Detention Facility. This is a new IGA. The cost of the city of Northglenn in terms of, I'm sorry, I stand corrected, a new cost to the city budget. The cost for this service is based on usage, and we fall within the lowest tier of 150 inmates or less. So the cost will be $8,000. We did budget this in the 2019 budget. The IGA is written as such that there's an option for up to 2 one-year renewals as part of the IGA, and our Management Services Director, Paula Jensen, is here this evening if there's any more specific questions about this IGA.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 139 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to CR 145. Joanna, would you read the title?
A resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the Adams County Sheriff's Office and the City of Northglenn for the provision of law enforcement and administrative personnel.
Move for approval.
Second. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. As our city clerk mentioned, this is an IGA with the Adams County Sheriff's Office to provide record services on a continuous basis between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. 365 days of the year. We're required to make sure that the service is provided. The Adams County Terminal Guard Service increased by $15,812 for 2019. We did capture this increase in the proposed 2019 budget, I should say the budget that was adopted in late October. So the total cost for Northglenn will be $49,512. And Chief May is here, and we're happy to answer any specific questions that you might have about this particular IGA.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Thank you. Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 145 passes unanimously.
We will move to CR 146. Joanna, please.
A resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement for the provision and funding of juvenile assessment services by the LINK.
Approve. Second. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. We have several resolutions on the agenda this evening, so bear with me. The LINK provides services to the cities of Brighton, Broomfield, Commerce City, Thornton, Westminster, and the County of Adams. And specifically, the services to provide detention, decisions, placed assessments, and other juvenile-related services that the city doesn't provide directly. The cost to Northglenn is based on usage, and the cost for Northglenn in 2019 is $48,924. The total cost of the 7 participating agencies that I wanted to know is $568,597,000. And again, this is a service that the city of Northglenn doesn't have the capacity to provide, so it's an important service in supporting youth in the community. And Chief May is here and happy to answer any more specific questions you may have.
Questions? We've used that service for years, so I can't see that we wouldn't do it again. So would you open the vote, please, Joanna?
The vote is open.
Thank you. Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 146 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to CR 147. Joanna?
A resolution approving an agreement between the City of Northglenn and Earth Green Soil Amenities for the South Huron Fence Project.
Move for approval.
Second. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. The item before you this evening includes a recommendation, again, for a contract with Earth Green Fence Products. Staff is recommending approval of an 8-foot fence as part of the project. So you'll see on page 3 of your memorandum that there's the base bid amount of $117,810, and then the increase in the fence height to 8 feet for an additional $30,829.50. There's 7 properties identified that staff will be working with in order to complete this project. And this item was requested and direction was provided by City Council at the May 14th, 2018 meeting. And Amanda Peterson, our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, is here and happy to answer any more specific questions.
Thank you. Question?
I'm just kind of curious, have we been able to reach out to all the residents right now, and what had been their responses?
Amanda, can you respond to that question? Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have spoken individually to several of the residents, but we did also send a letter to each of the 7 last week that let them know that this was being considered, that we intended to move forward, and we would be in further touch with them to do the formal easements.
Thank you.
Why the increase in height?
The existing city fences, most of them are 8 feet high. Some sections are 6 feet, most are 8 feet. I was concerned about the budget on this project, so I bid it as a 6-foot project. Once we got those bids back, they were under the budget that had been identified for the project. And as we spoke with the contractor, he really felt that because of the grade, the sidewalk is here, and there's a little bit of a grade down to where the fences come up. So that drops that 6 foot even further. So the contractor felt like that, one, it would provide better noise, a better noise barrier or sound barrier between Huron Street and those residents, particularly for those who already had a taller fence, and better sight separation between the roadway and those residences.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Jenny?
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 questions, Amanda.
Yes.
First is, aren't the fences on Huron Street, or I'm sorry, on 104th, are they 8-foot fences
Yes,
as well?
they are.
Okay, good. So this will create more consistency.
Correct.
Okay, great. And then my second question is, I noticed that one power pole has to be relocated. Will there be any sort of power outage or anything like that that residents will have to plan around?
We are not anticipating any power outage. We are working with Excel Energy to move that pole.
Okay, great.
No, when we've had that happen in the past, we haven't had an outage during the movement of the pole.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Certainly, if there is, we will notify them in advance.
Okay, great.
Any further questions?
Yes.
So the removal of 3 trees, so the one is a nuisance species, I get that. And are they, first of all, are all 3 of them in the way?
So there are several other trees that are in the fence line, and those were included in the initial bid.
Okay.
When we went and walked the site with the contractor, there were 3 additional trees that are just outside the fence line. They will be in the fence line at some point, and he said it was in our best interest to remove those now. Otherwise, they'll either A, need to be removed in the future, and that would be, they're on the property owner's side, which would be could be a costly endeavor for those individuals once that fence is up, and would be in the way of the fence.
I'm not big on tree removal, but if there's a reason for it, I understand, so thank you. All right, further questions? No? Hearing none, thank you. Amanda?
Thank you.
Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 147 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to CR 148. Joanna, please.
A resolution accepting an Adams County open space grant and approving the grant agreement between the City of Northglenn and the Adams County Board of County Commissioners.
Move for approval.
Second.
Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. Very excited that we are requesting the acceptance of this grant award. Amanda, Dana, and I went to the county, I think it was last week or the week before, and received our grant award certificate. And for this grant award and the next one that we'll discuss. So this grant award is for $250,000. I'm sorry, we budgeted $250,000 and the grant award's for $300,000. So we're able to leverage funds for a total project cost of $550,000 for the replacement of tennis courts at Waco Park.
Okay. Questions?
I just wanted to let you know I appreciate it. I'm really excited about it. Not that I play tennis, but I like to watch chase the ball. This is definitely going to be an improvement to the park. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would just like to say thank you to the Adams County Open Space Advisory Board for always giving us generous grants. So thank you. And Joanna, would you open the vote?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 148 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We move to CR 149. Joanna, we're not giving you any time to breathe between everything you're doing, I'm sure, tonight. I'm sorry.
A resolution accepting an Adams County open space grant and approving the grant agreement between the City of Northglenn and the Adams County Board of County Commissioners.
Move to approve.
Second.
Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. This is for acceptance of a grant amount of $5,000 for a total budget of $10,000 for the addition of bike racks and a bicycle repair station. The bike racks will be located at Northwest Open Space, near Croak Reservoir, Waco Park, Kiwanis Park, Pool Splash Pad, Fox Run Park Central, and Fox Run Park South, as well as additional businesses. And the additional bike repair station will be located Fox Run Parkway, adjacent to the Fox Run Open Space Trail. And Amanda Peterson is here and can answer any more specific questions that you have.
Questions? No? Thank you for putting a bike, is that a question? Oh, okay. A bike repair, what is it called, station? In Fox Run. I think that's a great spot to put it because there's so much use to that trail right there. So I appreciate that. And Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
We'll close that vote, and CR 149 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We move to CR 150. Joanna?
A resolution approving addendum number 1 to the professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Stanley Consultants Incorporated for project administration services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. This item is a contract addendum in the amount of $16,670. The initial contract amount is $40,000, bringing the total amended contract, if approved, to $56,670. And this is for project administration for 112th Avenue, York Street, and Fox Run Parkway improvements. Kent Kisselman, our Public Works Director, is here, and we're happy to answer any more specific questions you may have.
Questions? I have a question. So I understand that this is just for the bidding and construction documents, but what's the time frame for the project? Just an update.
Evening, Mayor, Council, thank you. Yes, right now we received the bids back for this, and so CDOT's in review of those documents to make sure that everything is correct, and then they'll let us know that that's okay in accordance with their regulations, and then we'll be able to get a contract together and bring it forth. So we're hoping sometime in the next few weeks.
Are there any other questions? And I should have said, come forward, Mr. Public Works Director. How's that feel?
It does feel nice. Thank
Congratulations.
you very much.
Congratulations. You deserve it. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Seeing no other questions, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 150 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We move to CR 151. Joanna?
A resolution authorizing contingency funds for the agreement between the City of Northglenn and C&L Water Solutions Incorporated for 2018 Utility Emergency Response Services.
Move to approve. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. Again, this is for utility emergency response related to water repairs, and this year we've had a couple urgent repairs that have needed to be addressed, most recently on November 10th, as you see in the staff memorandum, and then the work that was done on the water line and the valves on Huron Street and Croak Street earlier this year. So there's a contract overage of about $142,476.53 that we're cleaning up, and so the change order is about $160,000 in total. And our Public Works Director, Kent, is here and happy to answer any more specific questions about this.
All right, thank you. Are there questions? Kent, are we including more money in the 2019 budget for this item, since I would assume that the infrastructure just gets older and older and we're going to have more and more repairs?
The 2019 will be an entirely different contract, so we'll renew that.
Oh, it's a contract. Yeah. Okay, got it.
And it'll be, we do it with C&L and American West, so that you approved that at the last meeting, I believe.
But do you think it'll be for a higher amount?
No, we kept it at the same amount.
Just going to keep it.
So we'll be looking at that moving forward, what that looks like, you know, with our repairs over year, but it's tough to predict, so, you know.
Okay, well, thank you, and thanks to CNL for their timely response on both of these problems that we had. They really got out there and took care of things right away. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 151 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We move to CR 152. Joanna?
A resolution approving an agreement between the City of Northglenn and C&L Water Solutions Incorporated for the waterline replacement project.
Motion to approve.
Second. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. This item is a request to replace 6 pressure-reducing valves. We have a total of 8 throughout the city, and staff identified these 6 as in need of repair. And so the request before you this evening is for a contract amount of $159,957 with a 25% contingency at $40,000. And a total not to exceed amount of $199,957. Each valve, if I did my math right, is approximately $26,659,000. So that's a significant piece of equipment within our infrastructure system and a really important thing to move forward with.
Questions? Marcia?
Do you anticipate the other 2 needing to be replaced fairly soon?
Thank you, Marcy. We replaced the last 2. We replaced 2 last year. So this will be, we'll replace the other 6, so all 8 will be in perfect working condition, and we will continue to monitor those and maintain those.
Any other questions, Ken? Seeing none, thank you. Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 152 passes unanimously.
Thank you, and we will move to CR 153. Joanna?
A resolution approving an agreement between the City of Northglenn and Dan's Custom Construction Incorporated for the water treatment plant clarifier rehabilitation project.
Motion to approve.
Second. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. So this contract award is with Dan's Custom Constructions in an amount of $677,910 with a contingency of 10%, equating to $67,971 for a total project cost of $745,881. The cost of the clarifiers came in higher than we anticipated based on what we had budgeted. So as Kent alluded to in 2 items ago, as we move forward, we'll continue to really look at budget to actuals moving forward and making sure that we're trying to get as close as we can. So the appropriation for this budget year is $340,000, and so there's an overage of $405,881 with this item. And Kent's here and can answer any specific questions about the contract approval.
Thank you for answering that question, because that was one of my concerns. That's a low appropriation. Okay, are there questions?
Is this part of the planned repairs that we're doing out at the water treatment center, or is this on top of everything else?
This is at the water treatment plant.
Oh,
So, yeah, and these are just on our annual inspections. They get drained in April and October, and so upon inspection by the state that they notice these deficiencies, and so these are to clean it up. We planned on doing one last October, but the lead time on these materials were so long that we couldn't get it done, and so that's why we bid them both at the same time. Actually, one was budgeted in 18 and one is budgeted in 19. So we put them both together to get a better cost, so there's a reduction of mobilization as well.
That's fair. Be close enough into. Okay, I was.
Thanks.
Any other questions? No? Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 153 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We move to CR 154.
A resolution approving a professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Lamp, Reinerson and Associates doing business as TZA Water Engineers for water and water rights engineering.
Move to approve. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. This is a professional services agreement for 2019. This is the time of year where we start transitioning from 2018 into 2019 contracts. So this is for TZA water engineers, and they provide us with support in our water activities. So as the staff memorandum indicates, they're assisting us with the Croak Reservoir work that's being done in terms of development of the augmentation plan, as well as with the FRICO change case in terms of looking at purchasing additional shares. And so we provided a chart basically depicting from 2010 to current 2018 what our usage has looked like. We budgeted $150,000 for these services in the 2019 budget.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay, hearing none. Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
We'll close that vote, and CR 154 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We move to CR 155. Joanna?
A resolution approving the legal services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Fisher Brown Bartlett and Gunn PC.
Move for approval.
Second. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. This is for legal services related to our water activities. For 2019, our budgeted amount is $200,000 for professional services. And again, we included a chart from 2010 forward, so you can see that usage is really the amount that we spend each year is based on usage. So we're at $57,468 to date this year, and the primary activities are related to Croak Reservoir and the FRICO shares.
Thank you. Question? None? Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
We'll close that vote, and CR 155 passes unanimously.
Last resolution, CR 156.
A resolution approving a master license agreement between the City of Northglenn and New Singular Wireless PCS LLC for the use of public rights-of-way.
Move for approval.
Second. Heather?
And thank you, Mayor Dodge. As the staff memo indicates, House Bill 17-1193 regulates our ability to regulate small wireless service infrastructure. So the proposed agreement that you see before you is in line with our ability to regulate, and Corey Hoffman, our city attorney, can answer specific questions related to those regulations, but staff's recommendation is approval of this agreement.
Thank you. Are there questions?
Corey, I'm wondering, how many do we have agreements? 3 of them now? Or
I believe this is the third.
Yeah. Is there a limit, or do we have to just agree no matter what?
No, and in fact, if anything, the regulation at the federal level is going the other direction and taking away local government approval. So getting these types of master license agreements gives the city some certainty over its regulatory authority.
Thank you.
Questions? None? Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
We'll close that vote, and CR 156 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We move to our discussion items. Tonight we have an update on Ralston House with Kent.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Ralston House is nearly complete. The last lift of asphalt was put on last week. Obviously, last month they demoed the building, and that's where the new parking lot is. The parking lot striping is complete. They're ready for the certificate of occupancy. At the ward meeting, Ward 1 meeting, it was mentioned that they plan on moving in their furniture and completing that, I think, by the end of 18, and then doing some testing in the facility in the first quarter of 2019. So it's just about done.
Yeah, great news. Any questions for Kent from Ralston House?
Oh, it's exciting to know it's almost done.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our next discussion item is the City Council Employees Performance Evaluation Process Update. That is a mouthful with Joe McHugh. Hi, Joe. I've heard your name a bazillion times. It's nice to meet you.
Well, hopefully that's all good reputation and not concern at all.
It was all good.
Great. Thank you. Actually, I think I'm going to pass on, yeah, just with the nature of that. All right, who's super excited to talk about performance evaluation processes? I thought that would probably be, you notice I pretty much cleared the room too, so thank goodness for the Boy Scouts. They always stick around for these important topics. But this is an important topic, and so I want to spend a little time to both tonight and then next week. I'll be spending some time with you. The goal here really is to make this a discussion because I'll tell you my professional experience from both 20 years of in-house human resources with municipal government and then doing a lot of this work in my consulting business is there is no perfect evaluation system out there. There's pros and cons, so what we can do is find something that's going to work for you to meet the goals that you need. So tonight, the agenda, let's see, oh, I have my own little clicker, do I? Do we have the presentation up? Not yet. Oh, there we go. Thank you. It's the magic of technology. All right. So tonight, the goal here primarily is to give you just a sense of what kind of project we're looking at, but also to get some very high-level feedback from you on what you would hope at a very 30,000-foot level to get out of a system like that. And then next time, our goal will be to get into some of the specifics of the typical aspects of evaluations so I can get your idea of what you want. Then my goal is to go and design something for you to bring back for your input and tweaking, ultimately. So, all right. And there's homework. You noticed that too. So I know. I am just the bearer of bad news tonight. I know. I will not be invited back next week. Great.
No, you're stuck on me.
Okay, good. Great. All right. Well, like I said, this will be conversational, and I'm going to take some notes so that I can track on that. How many of you have participated in some evaluation of appointees in this, of your employee group here? Has everybody been involved? Okay, no, all right. Lucky you, right? We get to start from the beginning. No, you haven't, right? All right, so for those of you that have participated in the past, what aspects of the system that you have now are working well?
Honestly, I don't like the format that we're in.
Okay.
I'll give you the opposite side of it.
I promise you're going to have time on the what's not working. That'll be the next question.
Okay, well then I'm going to be quiet because I don't think I don't find anything effective.
Okay, that's a fair. Okay. That's why I always ask this question because it always seems to be on the fast answer side. What is working? Anybody have any feedback? Things they do like? Wow, that was a tough question. All right, let's go through them.
It's always worked for us in the past, but I think we see the flaws now, like fatal flaws, actually. So it's time to move on.
Okay, perfect. Then let's talk about those because that'll help us. So what aspects are not working? I heard there was a general, it's not working.
I think that there's a couple things I don't like about our evaluation that we're using. One is the point system, and anytime you look at an evaluation, you have a 1 through 5, it's not really the most beneficial. I don't like the way that they, like when you do an evaluation, I've gone through a couple different systems to do them. I've used one where it basically helped you write it along and it was an actual useful evaluation. And then there are free-form ones that I've used. I just don't think that we have either enough space or we're not doing it right. I hate to say that. Where we can give a good amount of constructive criticism, we have it, and still keep it amongst the the people that are reviewing.
Okay. So, and I'm hearing that is the space issue because of the actual tool itself, or simply the nature of trying to get input from this many folks for this many folks?
By calling it a space issue.
Okay, so it's a formatting structural issue.
It's a flaw.
Okay.
I feel.
A system flaw. Okay.
The way we do it now, you can put your comments on there, and then they're all integrated, and they can be conflicting at times.
Okay.
So, for me, I don't think we have the appropriate questions for the different individual positions.
Okay. Questions, categories? Help me understand that a little better.
Maybe the categories are all right, but it's the questions within the categories.
Okay.
I have to look at it again.
Yeah. And is it that it seems like it's the same questions for such different roles, or is there a different aspect of it that makes it?
I'd have to look at it and have to.
Okay. All right. Questions, don't see anything. Great. What other things?
Good.
Thanks. So I haven't gone through the official process yet, but we did take a look at a past evaluation.
Yeah.
And based on what I was seeing, it looks like the way that the evaluations have been set up in the past, it appears to just kind of tick a box, right? Like, we've done our evaluation, that's it. It doesn't actually feel like there's, it's not structured so that we're giving our employees, I think to Councilmember Brown's point, constructive feedback, and it's not intended to help them grow or advance them in their professional development.
Great, and let me thank you for that. There's lots of reasons why I see that sometimes. Sometimes it's because it's all so past focused that it doesn't give any direction for them moving forward. Sometimes the nature of just even what you're filling out about is not really a good tie to the work they're doing. Sometimes it's simply you don't have enough time, or maybe knowing you all have big jobs, just don't have the time to do as thorough of a job. Do you have a sense of if it's some of those, or if there might be a different?
I don't know, I can't speak to that, but
Okay.
it does feel like there's a lack of goal setting.
Okay, great.
And probably self-reflection also in the review process.
Okay.
And back to the questions, it kind of prompted me when I was listening to you. They're more general, so it's really hard to evaluate that. And sometimes we don't even, the question is asked in a way that we wouldn't have any way of knowing if the individual was really doing some of these things, so we don't have that.
And no way of knowing just because you're not here on a day-to-day basis, is that the challenge, or is it the?
It's possible.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No,
I'm just thinking.
I was just thinking mostly, we don't really follow these people around on a daily basis to see what they're doing or what they're not doing. We get information that something was done. Maybe not always do we get all information, but we get some information. An example, the agendas are posted. Well, great. You can look on the bulletin board and know that they're posted, or somebody created it, but we don't know how timely that was. I mean, we're not present.
Right. Okay.
And I think it kind of outside of the evaluation form specifically, where I felt like we don't have the right tool and we don't have a great way of tracking. So we go through, we get the evaluations, present the evaluations to staff, we interview staff, and we have a conversation about it. But there's no formal documentation of that follow-up. That part is lacking. So whatever the discussion is on us to remember what the discussion was, and there's not, something for the next incoming council. So I think that's a big part that's missing in that review step. I think whether it's a good or bad, right? Whether it's the goal setting or it's here's some issues that need to take action. There hasn't been good documentation around that. And I also think, going back to the form though, so we have staff, directors that kind of are part of that rating system, and then there's council. And going to there's different questions based off of our level of access and what we're seeing. I do think that there are two different sets of questions that need to be asked, but I think it's really important to get the staff's input and have that as part of it, but maybe not blend it in so much with the council, and having different questions I think is important, because while we're not following staff,
council appointees around, I think it's important that we see the staff that are and what their input is. And that's been really valuable in some of the evaluations that we've done. I just think the questions need to be different.
So let me articulate back just to make sure I'm clear. You want the input from staff because they do have that more day-to-day impact and give a different perspective, but it's different information you need from that group versus the feedback that you all give because you have a different relationship and interaction. Am I just tracking correctly? Okay, thank you. Sometimes I put it in my own words to make sure I understood.
Nope, you got it.
Great, thanks.
I don't know if this comment is proper timing or if it's for later.
Sure.
But I'd like to see something of a 360, that, you know, so that we know where, for instance, Heather, what her goals are moving forward, things like that. I'd like to have that, if possible, put into place first before we start evaluating.
Okay. So you would like the 360 feedback, or you would like to know the goal piece first, or both?
Both.
Okay.
I think it's important to make a complete evaluation that you know all the pieces.
I agree with everything everybody's saying about it, but I would also like to add that I think the lack of anonymity, the way that we have been gathering the information, people are not comfortable with that,
Okay.
with good reason. So that's huge, and that needs to go. And just also that council is in charge of it, but I mean, I'm going to speak from my own experience that it's really difficult to do this. And I really think we need an outside person because like Marcy said, we never took notes on what we said, and then we'd come back and go, okay, what did we say on who has the best memory here? So I think it's best taking the facilitation out of our hands.
Yep.
Anyone else want to weigh in? Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the not working?
I wasn't a part of it, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate
This is
that.
their first time too.
Yes. Well, let me ask this question too, broader, and so even those of you that haven't done it before. Anything else that from evaluation systems that maybe you've experienced in other settings that you don't like, just in general about evaluation systems? Other than you just don't like them? No.
I guess I'm wondering, and I really don't know what you're referring to, Carol, when you say lack of, say that word, and then, yeah, whatever. What I personally don't enjoy is an anonymous survey. And so I think there's two different pieces to that. Because the recipient of an anonymous survey can easily be attacked. It's the easiest place for people to say whatever they want to say and not necessarily have integrity about it because those comments are anonymous. If we want to go with an anonymous feedback tool, I think we have to be really careful because I don't think they're the healthiest tool from my personal experience.
So for me, there were 2 points of anonymity, where there's anonymity from the evaluators when they're giving, like staff giving it to council. I don't think that they felt comfortable that it's going to one council member to assimilate. I mean, somebody's always going to know who, okay, you know, Heather sent me her evaluation. This is what Heather thinks about this person. So that part is very uncomfortable for the person in that position. And then anonymity also, I get what you're saying about people being able to say whatever, but I think the other side of that is if it isn't an inanimate, oh no, I can't even say it, anonymous, then people also might be afraid to say things that they would otherwise say if they could be anonymous. So that's a double, I don't know what the answer to that part is, but that's.
No, I agree. I mean, when you asked, what is something you hate about a personal experience, that's the one thing that came to mind. Anonymous surveys can be brutal and not necessarily objective and fair. So, I mean, if you can design one, that would be awesome.
Actually, you guys have prepared yourself well for one of our discussion topics next week because your points are both taken. There are, you know, will staff really participate if there isn't some level of sense of protection And I completely agree with you that I have seen them used and abused. And so we have to figure out what's going to be the right balance for Northglenn in particular. So that's perfect setup for homework next week, one of the topics for you to think about, because we will need to land that plane at least initially. Okay.
I think in all my years of being on council, I've always found this process to be weird to me because these are great employees and I don't work with them day to day, but when I do work with them, I mean, I think they're really good people to work with and I don't feel comfortable evaluating them. It just seems like they shouldn't be council employees. I get that that's how we're set up, but it just seems like they should be under the city manager or something. Give it to you instead of us because that's just difficult because we're not with them 24/7 and it just doesn't feel good to me. It's always awful.
Yeah. And you know what? It is weird. I find council evaluations one of the most challenging areas in municipal government for trying to figure that out for all the reasons you've identified. You're not with them every day. You have a policy-making role, but now you have a supervisory role. So, yes, I appreciate it. And from their perspective, there's a lot of bosses to be answering to in that scenario, too. So they are challenging, which is why some of your peers in other organizations probably don't even do them. But I don't think that helps organizations either because you don't get the feedback that you need. So, good. All right, great. Any other heartburn that anybody has? I was like, I think so. Yeah?
Just when we have the conversation at the end to review the survey and how we do that, I think that in years past, sitting up here and then, our employees sitting down there, I just feel as, I just don't like the structure and that of a body of us looking at them and then having like that, let's explain type of situation. So I think that when we have that review and however we decide to do that, maybe trying to do it in a different way.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe our study session tables or something.
Okay, great.
And we've done it both ways.
Okay.
We have been in conference, well, probably before you, but we have gone into a conference room and, just had a closed setting. So.
See, and I like that. I don't know if that.
And it's more of a one-on-one.
Yeah. But I think I would enjoy that more. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, evaluations from the dais are awkward at best.
Yeah.
So,
I think both parts, but I would like it seated.
Yes. I'm guessing they would agree with that, too. So I won't speak for them tonight. Great. Okay, thank you for that. Next piece. Oops. Too many flips in. So we talked about what isn't working. What would make, now looking forward, what would make an evaluation system more valuable for you? So it's not just something you have to do.
I think to that point of, I forgot who mentioned the 365 or having the conversation of the goals and how they feel that they're able to improve and how we can come to some sort of consensus or some game plan for the year to come and what leadership components that they want to see as well. That follow-up, I think, is crucial as opposed to seeing it again next year.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think one of the things I would like to know is what can we be doing as a city council to make their work environment better? What do they feel like they need as professionals to continue to grow?
Exactly.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't seen it, but I'm hoping that if there's some sort of evaluation tool or survey, that there's a broken down rubric that goes with it that really explains each rating.
Okay.
So that you can provide growth producing feedback. If it's just a 1 to 5 without telling you what a 4 is versus a 5.
Right.
Then, and that's a complicated tool. It probably takes longer to develop, especially for 4 different roles.
Yeah.
But I think that's super important.
Yes, because my 4 and your 4 may look different. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I think there has to be, to make it valuable, there has to be SMART goals. You know what I mean? We have to be able to determine, that it's going to be beneficial for the person who's being evaluated and beneficial to us. So we don't have anything.
Okay. What else would make this beneficial for you or valuable for you?
Can we ask our employees also who are here with us tonight
Mm-hmm.
for feedback, or do you just want council feedback?
I'd love their feedback too.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys please just chime in if you have feedback.
I'll start.
Yeah, there you go, Heather will go.
I think overall, you know, I stress this a lot in my interview process that I have a coaching and mentoring approach to management. And so having a tool that's meaningful is really important to me, where we're having a dialogue. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. So how do we make it a safe space to where you can provide constructive feedback to me, and I'm very clear as to where I need to step up, if I'm falling short on something, what additional I can be doing, and it's done in a professional setting. That's really important to me. I'm one of those continuous improvers, so I'm always striving and thinking about that next thing. So when it comes to performance evaluations for me, you know, looking at the existing tool, and this is one of the reasons why I have this on my first year game plan to really move forward and make sure we do have a meaningful tool for the council appointees, is because I'm having a hard time with the existing tool and connecting the dots with my first year game plan, and how do I present that to all of you and really have a discussion around it. The 360 feedback tool is also really important. You know, I come in contact with multiple people on a daily basis, so making sure that my employees have a voice and they're able to provide safe feedback in a safe manner, and that it's done in a constructive manner, I think ultimately represents the culture of the organization, and I think that's an area where we can improve upon, and I look forward to seeing how we can move forward this process, because ultimately you want it to be a win-win for those involved in the process, and at the end of the day it's a win-win for the city, because we have the opportunity to make a difference in the community, in the services that we provide, and the citizens that we come in contact with.
Corey just wants all fives. He doesn't need any other numbers on there.
Can I actually make a comment about Corey's position? I will say it's... Great, I have a pass. This is paybacks for all the niceness things. It's unusual in the municipal organizations that I work with that when the attorney is not an in-house attorney to actually have an evaluation system. So we can design something for you, but it's more typical that there's more of a feedback process. So just that point of concept while you're thinking. It's outside of that. But you can now add anything you want to add.
I don't want to get chastised for how I say this, which has happened in the past, so I'll put it this way. I agree with everything. I agree with everything Heather said. But having said that, in my mind, for me, it's a limited tool, because at the end of the day, the relationship I hope to have with you as your legal advisor is a little bit different. And I really, when I say it's an evaluation process that happens on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, that's genuine, that that feedback should be consistent all the time. The evaluation is a point in time, but it could change the very next week, because that's the way the process works.
I'd like to see a more, like a, you know, the ranking system that we come up with, right? I don't like 1 through 5. That's just my own personal thing. It's really hard to when you're having a conversation with somebody, to talk to them in numbers of 1 to 5, because that's all subjective.
Yeah.
In any of the evaluations that I've done, the grading has always been subjective. I kind of fine-tune that in some way.
Yeah, and that's definitely on your homework list too. You're going to be receiving a memo that has sort of the list of what the experts talk about in some of these topics. We've talked about 360 feedback, rating systems, process, and then there's also just some very brief guideline, or not outlines, comparison of some of the other municipalities and how they manage those particular aspects. So that's the piece I'm going to ask you to be looking at and thinking about in preparation for next week. And there's lots of models out there that we can do with rating systems. And quite frankly, at an executive level, it's pretty rare to be using a number system anyways.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that piece
perfect.
of it. Yeah.
So kind of going back to Heather and Corey's comments, I don't even think this is realistic, but I'm wondering.
Sure.
Because the system I use for 30 employees is an ongoing, constant system, so the teacher evaluation system.
Yeah.
Because to Corey's point, a one moment in time does not give us an accurate picture.
Absolutely.
And it also isn't growth producing. So summative, this is where you're currently scoring until a year from now, and we'll do this again. If there was a way to make it efficient, like this, dreaming for sure, for us to gather feedback throughout the year in a quick, succinct manner, I think in the future would be an amazing tool. Because we all individually interact separately, and if I'm able to go, I just had this experience and I want to document this data. I want to make sure that I capture this as either positive or, hey, I need you to think about. But if there was a way to capture that in a full body of evidence, that's really the only way to get an accurate evaluation. It's just not in the set.
We will get creative. I won't tell you what one city does because it's a monthly meeting by the time they do. They have 3 appointees, and they basically meet with one of their appointees, so they're meeting quarterly with their appointees versus once a year. So, yeah. So.
I don't want, personal opinion, I don't want.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's where my other professional life, we have to evaluate everybody on a quarterly basis.
Yeah. But your points are, I mean, the reason why organizations set that up is because, I mean, really what the literature shows is what motivates people is ongoing discussions, and true cultures have ongoing conversations. The nature of organizations is it's not always possible, or you don't have the management set up to do that. So let's see what we can do to at least try to bring in a little piece of that. Because I can tell you from their side of the thing, they want to get feedback on a more regular basis. Waiting for the annual, is not conducive to any kind of relationship in that. Yeah. Sir.
2 examples, because I always have a really hard time with Corey's evaluation. And the reason I have that problem, I guess, is because we hired him to give us advice according to the law. So he can't deviate from the law, and all he can do is tell us, if you do A, you're going to get this, and if you do B, you're going to get that. Whereas with Heather or other employees, you can say, well, I wanted you to do this, but you didn't do that, and I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on that one. But with Corey, you can't hold his feet to the fire. He's kind of like infallible. It's almost like the Pope.
Oh, my
God.
Wow. I think you just meeting now.
That was awesome, man.
It's very, very difficult to rate him as not doing his job, because that's what we hired him to do, is give us legal advice.
Right. So I'll tell you what some of your sister cities do is absolutely. I mean, there's a quality of the legal advice, although I'm sure there's lots of gray areas, so is interpretation and brilliance help in that. But a lot of times what councils are really evaluating on is more how he delivers his services to you. Timeliness, communication, some of those kinds of skills. So those would be some of the pieces we could look at.
That's a good point.
Outside of, again, that I think it's somewhat strange to be doing that with a contract employee in general. But
you mentioned how it's a little bit different for us to do an evaluation of a contract employee. Do you have any thoughts on how municipalities that you've worked with in the past have evaluated their municipal judges?
Yeah, again, it kind of depends more. I don't have an exact number or percentage for you. I'm just thinking of the ones that I know in. A lot of them have in-house judges, so it makes sense that they do evaluation. But for those that don't have in-house, that bring in contract, they don't typically do an evaluation. It's just part of their annual contract renegotiation to say this is what's working for us, what's not working, which I guess has a form of an evaluation, but it's not done through the evaluation process.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
I mean, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Can someone remind me if Judge Majid, is she in fact contract? She's not officially in-house.
Correct.
She's contract, yeah. Okay. I'm glad we're having this conversation because I feel like it's tough for me to do an evaluation for the municipal judge because I just don't interact with that individual. I mean, not in the same level that I do with our other council. So if that's on the table and we're having a discussion about whether or not we are evaluating our contract employees or appointees, I think that's one area that we should chat a little more.
Okay.
Is it in the charter? Is it in the charter that we have to? No, none of that. Okay. Okay, let's check.
All right, we'll make sure we add that to the agenda of topics to bring up then is what to do with your contract employees.
You could actually cut this down to just do.
Well, can I just piggyback on something about the contractors? Again, I think it also comes back to the what are we evaluating with them and how. And if we pull that out, I just think it's important that we look at still having some conversation and evaluation at some level, maybe not the same exact tool. Just kind of talking the judge side, I think I always look at it as saying, so coming from not really having regular updates, not having reports, not knowing kind of what's happening in courts, and then when Bryn comes on board, we're suddenly getting like a lot of information and she's really communicating really well. It's, I guess she didn't realize what you weren't getting before. And so the evaluation is just that, having come from both sides of that, I like to be able to get that information from her, provide that feedback. And if there were to be a change, I would just feel like we need to be able to be tracking what information we're getting from them and whether or not they're implementing new change and what that looks like.
Because I think that was pretty shocking the first time we did Judge Majid when she took over and she came in with pages of all these great things she had implemented and we're just sitting there going, wow, we had no idea. So, yeah, we want to know that.
Yeah.
So still having the opportunity to get feedback from them on what they've been doing, yeah, would be good.
Okay.
Can I throw something out about the judge? Because there's different communities do it differently. And I'm going to throw out two different thoughts. One is that there are many people that the only exposure they have to the city of Northglenn is through the Northglenn Municipal Court. There is and I don't know if it's customer service or what you would call it, but some people, their only experience in Northglenn is through the court system. So I certainly think, if not the judge, the court system, and the judge is essentially the ceremonial head of the court system, is an important component of who the city is. I don't know how you evaluate it, but it's certainly, in my view, that's part of the identity of the city in many respects. And then the second thing is that different communities do struggle with this. Some send out evaluations to defense attorneys. And sometimes, you know, and the prosecutor, for example, to get an idea as to what her demeanor is on the bench, what issues they might have. So there's both subjective and objective criteria as you're having this discussion about what an appropriate evaluation is that you may want to consider.
Yeah, that's been my experience with in-house municipal judges. There's almost always some kind of stakeholder feedback from people outside of the organization. Yeah.
It's just so hard getting people outside of that group to respond back, you know what I mean?
You know, they spend a lot of time in that courtroom. They have an opinion, so in my experience. Okay. All right, great. Let's see, what else did I want to ask you about? So at the end of the project, this is sort of the success criteria question. How would you know that you had an improved performance evaluation system?
We're able to do an actual correct evaluation that enables the receiver to make changes and be validated for their for the work that they've done. and gives them an opportunity to grow. I think that helps that whole process. It'll make it more, for lack of a better word, professional than what we've got going on right now. I think that, like Meredith was saying, that she hasn't seen what ours was, but I think that when you look at it and compare it to whatever we're going to come up with, we're going to have a tool that's more manageable. And for me, that's the most important part for me, so that when I move on, and the next person comes in for my ward, they know why these grades were here, rather than just going, oh, I like Joanna's 5 all the way down, that was. But yeah, that's how I'll know. It's a level of comfort with it that you're providing valuable feedback to your employees.
Okay. What else from others?
I think it's not hearing any of the negative feedback, like either from the staff or from us. In the end, we can walk away from that evaluation and they're happy and we're happy and everybody's in sync, whether, that somebody needs improvement in some area or, they give us some feedback that maybe we don't want to hear either. As long as we all know that we're working to make this organization better. And everybody's happy and there isn't angst over this employee evaluation like there seems to be a lot of angst for years. So that would be successful.
And for the person getting the evaluation, feel that way too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That it's not just okay, here's my evaluation, say what you have to say, kind of give me.
So I'm actually interpreting that as actually a positive experience for all participants.
Okay. If that can be.
Yes. Well, let's at least aim toward it. What else from the rest of you?
For me, it's outlining a clear process for everyone and being very intentional with how we are evaluating each different role.
Okay.
And that it's a process that we can replicate every year with an associated plan.
I hear that on my wish list from all councils, because it seems like they do seem different every year, which is frustrating for everyone. Yep. What else? Shall we ask your appointees?
Yeah.
What would success look like at the end?
I'll go first this time, since I didn't last time. I think, and this kind of goes back to the other comments previously, just some clear expectations. I think what I struggle with is I'm never quite sure if what the clerk's office is doing is aligning with council's vision. I mean, we know council's goals, but as councils change, it's difficult to get feedback from the current tool, really on a lot of items. But I really desire some feedback on the services that we're providing and whether or not the current council finds those to be valuable to the community. Similar to what Corey was saying about contacting folks outside of the organization, I would love for the group of people who completed 360, the survey part, to be expanded for the city clerk's office. I hear council saying that you're not quite sure what we do on a day-to-day basis, and I totally understand that. I think because we interact with the public so much, I think somehow surveying our customers would be wonderful. Also my staff, I would love to have them included in the group and have that the evaluators be more diverse to get the different types of feedback that would be beneficial to make some changes that one group might not see. So really having, I am definitely in favor of the goal setting, the self-reflection, and I think the self-reflection could help provide that information to council as far as what we are doing day to day. So the goal setting, the self-reflection, and the follow-up definitely. Okay. I think those would lead to a very positive experience.
Have you ever done any kind of customer, lack of a better word, I'm sorry, customer service survey in the clerk's office at all?
We haven't. We've thought about having like a comment box. Typically, we get our comments through just emails. People will leave our office and send an email after their visit, or through the CRM system. We recently had a customer go into the CRM system and leave a comment there, and they completed a survey through that. But we haven't done a specific customer service survey in our office. We have not.
That'd be something to, look forward to as a goal, like homework. Moving forward, because that would be pretty interesting. And then you would have a way to have kudos, back, for lack of a better word, back up for saying how wonderful I am. This person, I always try to do a couple kudos in my evaluations,
We get those. It's just something council doesn't hear about
exactly.
because we're contained. I think it would be super useful. We've tried some different things as far as passport hours and things like that. We're kind of in a guessing stage because we don't have that feedback from our customers. So we'll try something, see if it works or not, move on. But it would also be valuable, not just for the kudos, but to know what they want in the services, what would work best.
How you can improve processes. Okay. I'm sure that's for a different time, but I think that's a great idea.
At the risk of again sounding a little trite, I want you to know that you have an improved evaluation system, because in my view, you need to kind of set the direction in terms of, and this is specific to me, what your expectations are of me, and if I'm meeting those, my job is to meet your expectations. And I do think it's more one-sided in that sense than perhaps with other positions. And so if you're happy with the evaluation tool, it's my job to react to it. And that's kind of how I look at it.
I'd like some names I'd like you to do over the next few months.
I would echo what Joanna and Corey have shared. I think meaningful is the reoccurring word that sticks with me. I want it to be a meaningful process for not only myself, but for mayor and council. And, over the course of my career, there's nothing that has been harder for me than to watch employees go through experiences where they've, call it victim to the gotcha effect, where you don't have that two-way conversation, that continual feedback, and it's like, well, you didn't do this, or and I don't think that's constructive for anyone. And so I've made a commitment to all of you in terms of how I'm managing this organization, and so I want a way for you to push on me and challenge me, but it's a meaningful dialogue. And again, it goes back to it being a win-win for the community.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that before I go to process? All right. So this is tonight, really just to do the project overview. Tomorrow. Next week, these are the topic areas that we're going to discuss. So as you can see, those are a lot of the topics that you've already raised, even in our discussion this evening. And I've already kind of outlined the information that you'll get ahead of time. I tried to do it in really bullet items so you didn't have to read through volumes of it. But the more you can have done some thinking about that, because we'll probably only have about 10 minutes per each of those topics, whereas usually I would probably spend an entire session on one of those topics. So we'll need to do that to be efficient for you. Let's see here. Then what will happen is I will go away after I get your feedback and actually design something for you, because what I find is we can have these great conversations, and in theory it all sounds lovely and easy and wonderful, and then you put it onto a timeline and paper and reality, and it then needs some tweaking. So the goal will be, once I do have that some smaller amount of you that are willing to put a little bit more time in this, to take the information that we've had as a full group, then to really spend a few sessions with me doing some tweaking on the tool and the process, so that we can then finally bring back a finalized project or product for all of you to do the final approval on. But trying to do all the tweaks in this kind of setting is going to be brain damaging for all of you, and at least one of you will want to stick a pen in my eye after having made me put you through that process. So I wanted you to get a feel for what we're talking about before you sign up for any kind of subcommittee. We're probably going to be talking, I assume, probably early January to do that, just with holiday schedules and all, to do that. So that'll be in the process from there.
In the, you know, in the,
Yeah.
In the Over the Rainbow.
Yeah.
How long do you anticipate it taking to get from point A to point B to have the final?
Yeah, it'll depend on a lot of things, including the availability of you all, most likely. Because, you know, I think what I've found is most organizations, there's some key things that they really want. So I should be able to come up with a good basic first draft, you know, sometime here in December, and then it'll just be a matter of how long it takes for us to meet on that. I know that's not a real answer, but my experience is you all have a busy schedule, so it'll be finding time with that.
Yeah, my concern, well, I guess,
yeah,
my concern is that if we're going to use the same format, you know, if we're going to come up with one for the employees, for the city, for you to use, you know, we have a time frame, like we did our evaluations last year in October.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they're going to be expecting and anticipating an evaluation, but they probably have. So I just want to make sure that they know that their evaluations could be delayed.
Right. Judge McGid is aware. Joanna's aware. Per my contract, I'm set to have a 6-month evaluation, but I think we need to get this process underway because we can kind of test the system, if you will, with my 6-month eval, and then I'm scheduled to do an annual eval in August. My contract's up for renewal. So I think the timing will work. Again, echoing what Joe mentioned, it's all based on availability, but we don't want to rush the process. Want to make sure that there's adequate time for input. And
but are we going to use this, or are we going to create a new evaluation form for the employees too, or just us?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that part of your question, Councilmember Brown. I have enhancing, improving the employee system scheduled for 2020. So the focus for next year, a couple things. I'm working on getting an employee engagement survey pulled together to send out to employees by the end of the year. And that survey I'm going to use as a baseline in terms of where employees are at, and I'll provide and share that input with council. That's going to be the launching, or the springboard, if you will, for the culture work that we're going to start doing next year. And the first part of that is going to be the creation of core values. And that's really the foundational work that needs to happen in any type of cultural work initiatives that an organization undertakes. So the identification of core values. How do we do business? What do we represent and stand for here at the City of Northglenn? And that's going to be a grassroots effort throughout our organization, and I'll program in points at which I'll keep council involved in the process, and an opportunity for feedback in that process. But this isn't going to be a leadership team driven exercise. This is going to be engaging employees throughout the organization at varying levels to really help come up with what our core values are. The reason that's important is in 2020, when we do really roll up our sleeves and undertake the heavy lifting of improving our evaluation system, your evaluation system should really mirror the core values of the organization. The other piece that we're going to undertake, which I think is more important to tackle next year, is updating the compensation system for our civilian employees. We did the work a couple months ago with the police sworn plan, and I think we're on the right track with that plan, but we need to align the civilian plan with the sworn plan. Right now we have a 30-step system. The approach to market we can do differently. I think I've shared this with council. I believe that we've outgrown the way we do compensation here at the city of Northglenn. So I'd like to have that piece in place next year. And then we tie in the performance appraisal piece in 2020. Now, with all of that said.
Sir, can I say something really quick, sir? Those are the best behaved children I've ever seen, because honestly, to sit through that, I'm sorry to interrupt, Heather, I'm really sorry, but I just saw you leaving.
I was going to say the same thing.
I'm sorry, they were amazing, so thank you. Have a good evening. Sorry.
Now, with that said, on December 18th, I'm going to be holding a work session with the leadership team. And as part of that work session, I want to have a conversation with my department directors about everything we have on the horizon, not so much from a strategic, these are the projects we're working on, but this is how we interact with one another. This is how we hold each other accountable, really getting more to the heart of the cultural dynamics within the organization. And a piece of that, I think, is how do we make sure moving into next year our evaluations are meaningful. I've made some different observations in the time that I've been here as manager, and I think there's room for improvement in the way we do employee evaluations. But it's a process, and I believe strongly that we need to take some other steps first before we get to that step in 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just because I agree with Heather's approach to that, is, in my experience, appointee evaluations are always a different creature. It's really hard. I've seen some cities try to just take their employee-based evaluation system and use that. It just doesn't work with the interesting dynamics of the role. So it makes sense to me that this is a separate process at this point. So, not that you asked me for my opinion, but as you can tell, I have an opinion on everything. I can't stop myself. Great. All right, what questions do you have for me? Or
Do
any
we have our
additional
homework already, or
thoughts?
is that something you're
It's
gonna
going to be in
send
your
out?
packet tomorrow, or for next week's packet. So Heather has sent that. Like I said, it's just 3 pages. It's just done in a chart, so hopefully it won't be too painful. But my phone number and my email are there. If there are even questions you had in between time, I'd be happy to answer those too. So. Great. Thank you. I appreciate your thoughts and your feedback, and looking forward to this process.
Thank you so much. We really welcome you.
Yay.
And everything you're going to do for us.
Well, we'll see.
Thank you,
The expectations are high.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Great. Thank you.
All right. We will move to communications. Gordon, first on your end.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Leddy and I had our Ward 1 meeting a couple weeks ago, which was very successful. Special thanks to the chief, Susan, and Kent for coming out and spending that with us. It started drizzling, so we felt maybe some individuals weren't going to come out, but that was not as attendance. We've had, in addition to, and I'm sure Meredith will speak to it, our efforts with Ralston House and giving back. So that was great. And then a special congratulations to Kent on his new position. And that's it for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Kent was awesome. He fielded so many questions at our Ward 1 meeting. And the chief did as well. It's great. So I don't know if you saw the postcard, but when we sent it out, we kind of presented a challenge to the Ward 1 residents. And so for every 2 people that attended, Jordan and I committed to buying 1 item on the Ralston House registry. So I bought my 10 items already. Jordan's got 10 she's going to buy. And because we had 40 people come, which was great. We did not have 40 last summer. So on a rainy, cold, icy day, 40 people was a big deal. So we presented about the Ralston House so that everyone understood, and then let them know that just their attendance helped give back. So we were able to but Susan is a rock star.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, she's amazing. So she was fantastic. Kent was great. Chief was there. It was awesome. And then I'm sure we're all going to mention or invite people to Noel Northglenn next Friday. Should be a big party. Always is a good time. So come on.
So after Noel Northglenn,
Oh, yeah.
Then you can come to the old-fashioned Christmas over at the Stonehocker Farmhouse this Saturday and Sunday. So feel free to do that, and Santa will be there. So, okay.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I attended the NURA meeting this last week. I just really want to thank you, Heather, and thank Kent for the effort to do the, my bumps. I sat down at the end of my street watching traffic the other day, and it's just slowing people down so well, and I'm enjoying them. And I do call them my speed bumps, by the way. But you guys did such a great job on that. I would like to just ask a question, though. I thought if you could look into it, because I thought we were going to put some on the east side of 112th, and we only did the west side, so separate note.
I will check with Kent on that and
Thank you,
follow
I
up with you.
appreciate it. I got a lot of positive feedback from the residents that they just, they're glad. The only negative comments that I got were, I want them on my street too. And, can't put speed bumps on every street in Northglenn, but would like to. But thank you so much for doing that for us. I really
You're
do
welcome.
appreciate that. I know all of my residents.
Well, first of all, on Arts and Humanities News, Marcy and I went to see a performance of Peter Pan by the Northglenn Youth Theater, and it was amazing, as always. They did a killer job, and my favorite was Captain Hook, which was probably everybody's favorite, but really great performance, and thanks to Kimberly for always doing such a good job as the artistic director over there. She did an amazing job with the kids. An update on the tunnel mural project is that they've selected an artist. His name is Chad Bolzinger. He is a Denver native, and he has a lot of murals up in Rhino District. So his art is out there. It's very colorful and visionary, so we're really excited to see what he is going to do for our tunnel. And they're shooting for a 4th of July unveiling of that. So that's pretty good deal on that one. That is exciting. We got to meet somebody named Christine Cowles. She was actually the founder of the NAHF when she was in her 20s. She came to our last board meeting, and it was just so cool to hear how she started that board. It was just a lot of work that she took on as one person to get that organization formed. And so she shared a lot of info with us. Hopefully she'll be part of the 50th anniversary because I think she's got a lot of good information. So that was kind of fun. Our senior organization, one of the members, Bonnie Keown, she always fills stockings for the troops. This year, she tallied out at 473 stockings, filling more than 50 large Home Depot boxes. And so every day she asked for donation items or cash donations to fill the stockings, and she just went above and beyond this year and got a lot of donations from people, so that was good. And the last thing I just want to say is that, in case you're not aware, the CML, which is the Colorado Municipal League, is going to be hiring a new executive director because of the retirement of Sam Mamet, who's been there forever. And he's kind of a hard act to follow. So I did want to tell you that I've been part of the transition committee to get the resumes, not the resumes, the application out, first of all. That's been posted on the CML website. So if you know of anyone who might fit the bill for that job, that it is up on the website. And we're only going to accept them till December 10th. It's going to be a very short period of time. But I would just like to say he's just really going to be difficult to replace because his knowledge of Colorado and everything legislative is unmatched. So stay tuned for more announcements on that.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to say thank you, Joyce, for letting me take your slot.
Oh, you're welcome.
To go to Los Angeles. Heather texted while I was there and said, bring back some good ideas. And I looked for some really good ideas, but what I found out at the summit was that we are really in a very good shape. When you hear some of the conversations from other small cities, they're struggling with water, they're struggling with sanitation, they're struggling with recycling. I mean, they have a lot of struggles. And I was like, wow, we don't have, wow, we're doing pretty good. Wow. So it was really encouraging rather than looking for ideas. It was really confirmation that we are in good shape. Obviously, the networking helps, so that was good. I had to hurry back Saturday night so I could do the veterans ceremony the next day. And again, Heather recorded it because my wife had another engagement. And somehow this thing went viral. And I got messages from everywhere on what a great event it was. And they never knew this about me, et cetera, my own family. So I was like, wow, really? I've been around here a long time. How come you haven't asked? But it was a wonderful event, and a gentleman that was there was 95 years old, sailor, and my brother was in the Navy during the same time, and my brother's been gone almost 10 years. This man was looking good. For 95, he was sharp as a tack. I wished I had spent more time with him, but all the kids were gathering around him, and I didn't want to capitalize. But it was a great event. Probably the last thing I want to say is I got my speed bump. I got one speed bump today. But I'm very happy that we're going to get more. Our signs, I think, are making a difference. I realize people don't stop because it says they're doing 27, but it reminds me that I'm an example for that neighborhood, and I need to slow down. So if it doesn't help anybody, it helps me.
Me too.
It's going to be a great thing. The fence on Huron and all of Huron, the reconstruction of Huron since I came on council, I am just elated to see this happening, and thank you to my colleagues for voting for that tonight. And I think I'll end it with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Just to piggyback on one thing about the stockings that Bonnie Cowan does, I also want to just acknowledge that our seniors put forth a lot of time in sewing together the stockings. So they pull together the fabric and do sew the stockings and put a lot of effort into that. So we greatly appreciate their time in doing that every year. And then Noel Northglenn, we've mentioned that, but as a reminder, we, as the Northglenn Community Foundation, sell pizza and beverages that evening. So you can come and buy pizza by the slice, or you can buy a whole pizza for your family if you'd like. Great thing about it is Boardwalk Pizza here in Northglenn is who supports us graciously in making that possible for us to be able to do that as the foundation. So please stop by and grab a slice of pizza. And then last, I just wanted to mention that Anythink Library had their meeting last Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And as you may know, their Middle Living Initiative failed, and they had a conversation about how they're going to be readjusting. It was quite a disappointment. They were really banking on being able to extend hours in some of the community libraries that need it most, like Commerce City as an example. So they're looking at ways that they might be able to make that possible, but definitely a huge impact is also going to impact their efforts to be able to open up additional library locations. But they are committed to finding a way to make it happen, and particularly in the Reunion area. So I don't think that they've lost all of their motivation to find ways to make it happen, but they're definitely going to have to get creative. And then just the last impact is that online publications were another thing that they were really hoping to be able to get funding to expand. And while they are able to put some money towards it, certainly not to the extent that the demand is asking for. And then the last item for the Anythink Library is, if you follow them on social media, Wright Farms, they have what they're calling a little exhibit in one of the conference rooms, which is to have a seat at their kitchen table. They've brought in kind of like a kitchen environment. They have pictures of some of their staff members at the kitchen table, and they're just encouraging multi-generations to have conversations about what a kitchen table means to you. What you might have done with your family. You might have played cards at your kitchen table. You might have had Sunday dinners at your kitchen table. But they're just looking to have a conversation about what the kitchen means, so to speak, to you and your family. So would be great for you to stop by. The exhibit actually was supposed to close, I think it was on December 15th, and they have had such a good interest and demand in it that they're going to keep it open through the holidays. So if you have time, I'd encourage you to stop by over there and have a seat at their table. That's it. Jenny?
Thank you, Mayor. So I also attended the National League of Cities in Los Angeles, and I wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much to Susan for managing all of the reservations and making sure that the trip ran incredibly smoothly. I know that it was a lot, so thank you. Also, I wanted to note that, although I said this last week, the conference was a really positive experience for me, and I feel like I came back with this sort of renewed feeling that even though we're a small city, we can do really big things. And I hope that that's something that we can all take to heart, because we are doing really big things, and I think that we've got a lot to be proud of. And one of the things I wanted to share back from the conference was I went to a session about small cities doing big things, and the mayor of Durango was there presenting about how they have rolled out accessory dwelling units in their community. And I was really encouraged to learn that they're rolling out their ADU program almost exactly like how we are, with the owner occupancy requirement as well. So I wanted to share that because I think, we were kind of hesitant in wanting to know if we were moving in the right direction, and they've had really positive results. So I feel really encouraged knowing that it's been tested other places in Colorado, and it could potentially be a good model for us. Secondly, Council Member and Mayor Pro Tem Antonio and I drove down Melody Drive and saw the speed signs. They are great. He pointed out that I was in fact speeding, so I will be working on that. But they really do look good, and I hope that the residents are pleased, and hope that they see that the city really is taking their concerns about traffic calming seriously, and it's, I think, a conversation that we're all going to be continuing with. Let's see. Also, I wanted to say a quick congratulations to our newly elected legislative representatives. So former Northglenn City Council member Kyle Malika is our new state representative, and former Westminster City Council member Faith Winter is our new state senator. So I will be very excited to work with them in the future and welcome them to Northglenn. And finally, just looking forward to seeing everybody at Noel Northglenn. You'll be able to find us in the snowball throwing section. So thanks to staff in advance for putting that on. I know it's a lot of work, and it's also a lot of fun. That's all for me. Thanks.
Joanna?
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. I'm proud to announce that I've appointed Kent Kisselman as our new Public Works Director. He served in the interim capacity for several weeks and has exceeded my expectations, as I mentioned in the email that I sent to you. He's worked with the city for over 5 years in a couple different capacities as Public Works Operations Manager, as well as most recently engineering manager. Great individual with a very strong work ethic. We have a lot of work to do within Public Works. I'd like to thank the employees who participated in the presentation component of the recruitment process on the interview day, and appreciate all the feedback that they provided as part of the process, and look forward to working with Kent. On a fun note, my siblings traveled to Northglenn last week to celebrate Thanksgiving with me, and we went and checked out the Count the Lights fire truck, and it's fabulous. So I just encourage all of our residents to drive over and take a selfie. It's a lot of fun, and do a shout out to us on social media. I'm very proud to be in Northglenn, and enjoy the holidays.
Corey?
As I think everyone is aware, there was a flurry of activity, I think, since our last council meeting related to our water supply at Stanley Lake, as well as some potential oil and gas wells near Rocky Flats. While all those applications have been withdrawn at this point, I have retained someone in case we need him. So he's there if we need him, and a gentleman by the name of Matt Sura, who is an oil and gas expert in terms of representing local governments and others in the oil and gas world. And so he is there if we need him, and if we don't need him, it's not a retainer. It is an hourly contract, just like mine. So I did email council and kind of give you an update as to this was going. I don't think it's over, and so we have that resource if we need it.
Thank you. Okay. I just want to piggyback on Kent. I'm a huge fan of his. I have been since he started here, so I'm so happy for him, and I just look forward to seeing him grow as Director of Public Works. I think that's awesome. We have one more public invited to be heard. I'm not even going to say it because there's no one here. So we are adjourned.